But I'm so honored to have with me a roundtable of Michigan's congressional delegation, Republicans Dave Trott and Fred Upton, and Democrats Debbie Dingell and Brenda Lawrence. Thank you all very much for being here. It's very difficult to coordinate your schedules. I so appreciate it. Let me start with the news that broke on Thursday. Congressman Trott, in fact, I think all of you are in agreement that you're not thrilled with the president's decision, Congressman Trott, to pull out of the Paris Agreement on climate change.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake. And I think industry leaders think it's a mistake, so it's not just Republicans and Democrats. The agreement wasn't binding. 195 countries agreed to it. We're now in company with Nicaragua and Syria, so that's not the best company. And I think the bigger issue, even beyond the environment implications, is I think it just puts us in a bad position on the world stage in terms of our foreign policy.
Congressman Upton, it's interesting. I talked to the CEOs.
Call me Fred.
Fred, I'm sorry.
Call me Dave. Yeah.
on a casual Sunday morning. Fred, I talked to the CEOs of both of Michigan's biggest energy companies, Consumers and DTE. Interesting to find out that they wanted to stay under this accord, but their point is it's only good business. We're already doing these things.
We have reduced emissions nationally over the last 10 years. I'm proud of that fact. And it's a good thing. We want a clean environment. And for us, again, as Dave said, this was non-binding. There were no penalties. Why not take credit for what we did and at the same time put monitors on the ground in China and India, two of the biggest emitters, who until this point had nothing to do with this at all. So why not get them under the same umbrella and introduce and trying to follow through on real reductions?
Well, then before I get to my Democrats, because I think I might know where they're headed on this, where's your level?
We had to break their arms.
Where's your level, both of you, of confidence in your Republican president at the moment?
Well, for me, and I've served under a number of different Republican presidents, I've not been afraid to oppose a Republican president when I thought they were wrong, or support a Democratic president, whether it be Bill Clinton or Barack Obama, when I thought he was right. This is the wrong move. This is the wrong move internationally. It's the wrong move as we think about the climate. I've never been a denier, and it's unfortunate, to say the least.
Yeah, I have some concerns. I think he hasn't put a great team around him in the White House. I think he doesn't understand how Washington works, so he's going to have a hard time getting things through Congress. I think it's more partisan than ever because of that. And then at a general level, there's a lack of curiosity that troubles me on some of the issues. And I didn't agree a lot with what President Obama wanted to do, but I did feel like he spent time studying the issues and, again, came to different conclusions than maybe I would have. But
Congresswoman Dingell and Lawrence, let me let you both weigh in then. I know you were dismayed. I was with you when you learned that he had turned down the Paris Accord.
Yeah, I kept hoping until the last minute that he was going to be Donald Trump and change his mind and we were going to get surprised. All the environmental issues have been spelled out very articulately by my colleagues, but what does this do to our trust in the world? Our word is not going to be any good. Our European allies don't trust us. I think that the implications of this from a diplomatic standpoint are as serious as the environmental impacts. I'm just deeply disturbed.
Congressman Lawrence, in fact, if you tie this back in, I think a lot of people were pained when Angela Merkel, Chancellor of Germany, said we can't, I guess the lesson here is we can't rely on the United States anymore. We're going to have to go it alone.
Devin, the one thing that, after my candidate lost, the President of the United States, I wanted that person to lead. I wanted that person to be the President of the United States, which understands the global leadership responsibility, who would understand how complex diplomacy, our allies, and is when we're talking about defending our democracy. This has been the greatest failure. This first trip abroad, where instead of encouraging and pulling people in, and the lack of preparation and the knowledge of the issues is something that has become transparent to so many. I I was like Debbie. I was hoping that the last one, because Tillerson was in support of staying in,
Yeah.
so maybe he had his ear. There is no rhyme and reason for us to do this.
But I'll throw this open to all of you then. His supporters would say he's simply keeping the promise that he made every step of the way with his promise that it was going to be America first and everything was going to be viewed through what's best for America and not necessarily what the rest of the world
we
wants.
have to move from a campaign to being the president of the United States. And campaign promises, when you are sitting in that seat and you actually get all the information and understand the complexity of your decisions, sometimes that will put you in a different place. When you're running as a campaign, you're just trying to get your base to vote for you. He is now the president of all of the United States, all of us, and his decisions matter.
Yeah, I think I agree with Brenda, and you know, he's had some other campaign positions that he's reversed course on, so he could have done it on this issue, and I think it's a mistake, and we're going to, and I think it's playing out on the world stage in a way that's really going to be a problem. I was critical of President Obama because his attitude was lead from behind on the world stage. That didn't work, but you know, insulting world leaders, or you know, when he was speaking at NATO, I thought some of the members of NATO were snickering at his comments, and I think it really puts us in a bad place.
Well, let's talk about the outlook for a number of issues. Fred Upton, you want to jump in?
I just want to say one thing. America first, not going back and being with Syria and Nicaragua. Is that America first? That's all I'll say.
Fair enough. Fred Upton, your vote was sort of symbolic to a lot of people in helping his healthcare bill push forward and get through. Your thoughts on where we're headed, since the Senate seemed to believe that it was a non-starter?
Yeah, well, the Senate's starting from scratch. We knew that they would. We're hoping, and when I think all four of us, we're hoping that they improve the bill. We do. I think we could be unanimous on that. Are we okay on that? Right? We're hoping that they improve the bill. For me, I got a couple of big concerns. I want to make sure that states like Michigan that expanded Medicaid have appropriate cushion. I think there's some additional things that can happen, and I'm encouraged that they may. Don't know what's happening as we look at it, probably the next couple of weeks when the senators really sit down and try to figure this out. But I'm also, I also want to underscore my support for those with pre-existing illnesses, and there was a lot of attention.
There still seems to be an awful lot of dispute over what...
Yeah, well, we didn't have a CBO score before, now we do.
Right.
But I'm one that says, and I got an extra $8 billion added to the 130 billion, but for high-risk pools. I'm led to believe that that's enough money, and I've said from the very get-go that if it's not, I'll be the first in line, and I think I've got support of a good number of Republicans to say we got to do more. I think there are going to be more generous tax credits available as well in terms of what the Senate package does. So we're all looking with interest. We're looking over the stadium. We're all looking with interest to see what they do, and at the end of the day, I hope that we fixed many of the flaws that are there. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Your husband famously sat there as Obamacare was being signed in after he Affordable Care Act, sorry, after he had presented the idea for universal health care, I believe, every year that he was in Congress. So there's an interesting family tie here to you watching some of that being unraveled.
This is, for me, period. If you live in this country, you've got a right to affordable quality health care. And I have a great deal of respect for Fred, but he knows that I am just deeply in disagreement on him. I mean, first of all, we should never have been in a position that we were not guaranteeing every American essential benefits, so that he wouldn't have even had to have been in a position to have worried about what we're going to do about pre-existing condition if we weren't ensuring that everybody had access to maternity care. If you've got pre-existing conditions, if you've got a mental health issue, if you've got opioid addiction, that's all gone now. Now states have the right to waive those essential benefits, which was a very...
Is this really then in how you read it? Because I don't think the congressman next to you, you're both looking at the same bill and seeing different things.
Well, it allows for states to seek a waiver, and if the waivers are granted, they're able to waive those benefits. And I want to make sure that they're still covered, which is why we, Republicans, supported the idea of high-risk pools. Whether it's the right amount of money, time will tell. And we'll see what the Senate does.
And we've got studies, and I mean, this is an honest just disagreement. that if you go to a high-risk pool, their studies are saying that we need $300 billion. And the fact of the matter is that people who have to go to those high-risk pools may not be able to afford to buy that. All of us, I keep saying everybody's got access to a BMW, but not everybody can afford to buy it. Even the CBO study said many Americans aren't going to be able to afford that health care. And I just think that we need to make sure every American can get it.
Devin, this is a break in our Congress, and this is a frustration. We didn't have hearings. We didn't have the opportunity to sit down as opposing parties.
Which Republicans feel is what happened with the original iteration.
You know
of
what?
the bill.
I'm here today, and whether it was Democrats or Republicans, we are sent here to collaborate, to legislate. And why did we sit there and put a bill through, and knowing that I had some of my Republican colleagues say they'll fix it in the Senate. That's not what we're sent to Congress to do. Why didn't we work on fixing what's wrong with it? I mean, David Trott has been very clear in the failures of the Affordable Health Care Act. Why didn't we do like we do every other major legislation, civil rights, a Social Security Act? There's amendments that made because you fix it as you go along, but there was no political courage to do that.
Jump in, Congressman.
Yeah, the process was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, 10 years ago or 8 years ago when we did the Affordable Care. I wasn't there, but the Affordable Care Act passed, and this process was completely partisan as well, unfortunately. And we need to come together and figure out ways to solve these problems. The Affordable Care Act wasn't working. Premiums doubled. People couldn't afford to use their insurance card because of the deductibles. People were pulling out of the exchange. So we had to do something. In a perfect world, we would have all sat down and figured out a way collectively to fix it. And the real problem long term with that is a partisan solution coming out of the Trump administration will just be undone by the next Democratic president, which every few years people have to totally recalibrate their insurance for purposes of health care. That's not the right way to treat our citizens.
It doesn't work. We can't do that. I mean, we got to figure out a way to work together. And one of the things I think we should all agree that we got to work on is prescription drug prices and making sure people can afford their medicine.
Absolutely.
I've just got about 2 minutes left. I would like to get into where you all think we're headed on this investigation into Russia and its influence. James Comey apparently getting set to testify now.
We need
where's
the
all this
answers.
go?
You know what? We all want the answers.
Yes.
From the get-go, I said, we've got the congressional committees that are looking at it. They have subpoena power on a number of different things. And I said it from the beginning. Let's have a special counsel if we need it. If those committees can't get the answers, let's find another venue that can. So it will take a little bit longer having this independent counsel that's out there. They've got to staff up. They've got to figure out, you got a new gorilla in the room, who gets immunity, who doesn't, how does this process work? I'm not a lawyer. We'll watch it, but unfold. But you know what? We want the answers. We do. We'll get them.
We need an independent investigation that is not partisan, and we need to follow the facts.
Yep.
I feel strongly when you start talking about treason, they said there's smoke, is there fire? The American citizens, our democracy, demand that we go through a process. And I want the answers. I really want the answers. And then I want accountability.
Even though there was a time when both of you were probably really fed up with James Comey as the head of the FBI during the election.
James Comey is James Comey. He was FBI director. He has been put in a position where he now has information. He was fired. I mean, did I cry a river over it? But why was he fired? That's interesting.
It wasn't done in the right way or at the right time, and we all want the facts.
I think we were all surprised at that, right?
Yeah,
I sure was.
I think the special counsel is going to take a year to complete his work. I think he'll find the facts and what they are. I think he'll conclude that Russia was involved in interfering with our election, despite Putin's denials this week. And then we'll see. I am troubled by the number of people on the Trump team that were communicating with Russia. That seems strange to me, and so we'll get to the bottom of that as well.
That beep means I got to get to a commercial break. Thank you all very much for being here. I really appreciate the time. We'll continue with more. We'll bring in the roundtable from Mackinac Island on Flashpoint right after this. All right, welcome back to the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island. Let's bring in this morning's roundtable. We've talked about national issues. Let's bring it back to a lot of the local issues that were discussed here. Very happy to have with me this morning Nolan Fenley from the Detroit News, Steve Henderson from the Detroit Free Press. In fact, a double dose of the Free Press. Rochelle Riley is here, and Ron Fournier from Crane's Detroit Business. Good to have you all here. I'm curious about your big takeaways, and I think that you two, Ron and Rochelle, have been thinking a lot about the same thing. And Ron, that was Mayor Duggan's address here the other day.
Yeah, that was pretty remarkable. One of the more remarkable political performances I've seen, to have a white mayor of a majority African-American city talking to a mostly white crowd, a lot of people like me who thought we had an understanding of what led to 67 and the uprisings in the 40s, and thought we had understanding of the mistakes that we couldn't make. But to hear him just one fact after another, just a fact storm, a fact tsunami, and put together this piece by piece, this puzzle, that after a while just kind of overwhelmed you, realizing, holy moly, this now makes sense, where we've been and where we need to go. So on two levels, one socially and culturally, what it means for all of us. I think we could look back 50 years from now if the city does make a serious recovery and see this as an inflection point. And then politically, since that's my hobby, it was a pretty important statement for him to make for somebody who wants to win re-election in this city at this time.
Rochelle, you wrote about it. You were pretty moved by it too.
I was very moved, and people can read that piece at freep.com/Rochelle Riley. But I can tell you that, thank you, Ron. The thing that helped me along was, this is the Mackinac Policy Conference put on by the Detroit Regional Chamber, and what he did was put the focus back on the state's largest city and what that means for the state and what that means for those residents who have to be successful for the state to be successful. And I think that he did it without having to pander to anybody. It wasn't a political speech. It was literally, this is what happened. And as long as you understand what happened, then you can help us get to where we need to go to get past it. Because Detroit will never get past it until they actually deal with it. And there were people who I literally saw gasping and going, oh my God, or, you know, like it was the first time they heard it, and for some it may have been. But it was a wonderful history lesson instead of a political lesson. And I'm sure that some people might, you know, say, oh, it was a smart move to you know, sort of talk about things that will help people see him differently. But I don't think that people took it that way. As I talked to people all over the island and they were talking about it, it was more, I get a better sense now of what happened.
And one takeaway I got from your column was, at a time when we are a nation that doesn't have a common set of facts right now, he presented a common set of facts.
And that's what we need, not just in Detroit and in Michigan, but in the country. We got to start getting to a common set of facts. Let's all get in one place where we know this is the truth.
Interesting.
We saw Mitch Landrieu, who's the mayor of New Orleans, do something really similar a week ago, talking about Confederate monuments that are coming down in that city, trying to explain to that city's white citizens, some of whom don't feel comfortable with that, you know, why is this happening and what does it mean?
It's interesting, Nolan, in the years that I've been coming here, I've watched Dennis Archer as mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick. This is a group that really wants to cheer whoever is working hard and diligently in Detroit. This is a group that really wants to cheerlead Detroit.
And you're really seeing the business community believe in what's happening in Detroit now. Tremendous engagement at very high levels. I wrote today about these dozen or so CEOs who have been quietly meeting since the last Mackinac conference without a formal organization, just to figure out, they do the lion's share of the funding of all of these projects anyway. How can they work together to get more impact? And you know, for those who say, well, we come up here and it doesn't much matter, nothing much gets done, that started up here last year, where Jerry Anderson of DTE pulled some of his friends together and say, what can we do together to make a difference in Detroit? That's the kind of thing that happens up here.
I didn't give you two your chance for your big takeaway. What are you taking home, Stephen?
Well, one of the big takeaways, I think, is the spectacular failure of Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley to capture the imagination that he was seeking up here. I don't know that I've seen a more sort of ham-handed or fumbling political performance to stage this big announcement and then unveil something that is almost universally panned, right, left, Lansing, everywhere else. I mean, I haven't heard anybody say, hey, that's a great idea. Let's go do that.
To just sort of background this a little bit, on Tuesday, which is actually the day before all this actually starts, we were all excited because we thought we might actually have something to cover. But it had all the trappings of a campaign announcement.
Gubernatorial
Everybody,
announcement.
yes, he had all these volunteers in matching T-shirts, all the chanting and cheering, and it was about a part-time legislature.
Part-time legislature.
Yeah.
I mean,
And decreasing teacher salaries.
Right, and decreasing
Which
teacher
is
salaries.
as dumb as you can get.
Yeah, I don't know whether this was bad advice or a miscue at the last minute, but I think it's something that'll stick in people's minds.
First time we've seen a candidate derail their campaign before they announce it.
It's one of the worst political fumbles I've ever seen. And I think if you watched up here this week, the 2018 political races taking shape, there's some interesting, you saw some interesting things. I mean, when Kildee dropped out of the race, everyone assumed Gretchen Whitmer had a straight shot to the nomination. She's announced she's got $1 million raised already. But Democrats don't seem entirely satisfied with that choice. And Mark Bernstein was up here walking around like a candidate, starting to do some of the things you need to do if you're considering a run. Mark Hackles, he started jumping in. This race is not, it's still really cloudy. And this, this is a place where the campaigns usually start a year and a half out. So they're still forming. If Brian Kelly can't do better than he did up here this week, I watched him in the room. I mean, he wasn't sort of the guy walking around cornering people, glad-handing people. He's walking around, passing people in the hall, going like this, barely acknowledging folks. If he can't get this together and really soon, he might want to just reconsider. Bill Schuette will hand him his lunch.
Yeah, we've waited 7 years for him to sort of emerge from that role, which is a tricky role, right? You're not supposed to be the guy out front, but to show that he's ready for something more, this was not it.
But Rick Snyder has tried to push him to the front.
Push him out.
He's done everything he could to give him a platform.
An opportunity.
Well, let's move to where the governor has been this week, Ron. He's always had sort of a testy relationship with incentives for business, but he comes out with this push for these good jobs. They were talking in sort of nebulous terms about how many and who it was exactly they were targeting. Then we find out that it's Foxconn and an enormous load of maybe 5,000 jobs as this business from Taiwan that makes a lot of the components and assembles components on iPhones is looking for a presence in the U.S. That's enormous.
It's enormous. It's also a big, enormous political risk if he and the mayor go over to Japan, which is what's being reported, and don't come back with the jobs. I would think the way this normally works, if they're doing it smartly, they know they got the jobs if they get the legislation. And what this trip should be about is building support for the legislation. You don't go over there unless you know you can come back with something.
That's the smart play.
Yeah. Are they smart enough to make that play? I used to cover Bill Clinton as a governor. That's how you play that play.
If that doesn't get the legislature's attention, this possibility that we can bring that many jobs into Michigan, I don't know what will.
Gang, I got to leave it there. Thank you all very much for being here. We'll wrap